The champagne was flowing at the Beverly Hills Hotel on November 4, 2015. Hyundai Motor Group chairman Chung Mong-koo raised his glass to toast the birth of Genesis, their new luxury brand designed to topple BMW and Mercedes-Benz from their thrones. Hyundai initially invested around $2 billion into this moment, with further investments over time. The Korean automotive giant was about to discover that their biggest enemy wasn't German engineering or European prestige. It was sitting right across the conference table wearing Hyundai polo shirts. Manfred Fitzgerald, the Austrian executive Hyundai poached from Lamborghini, stood before 200 Genesis dealers at the Ritz-Carlton in Marina del Rey that December morning. His mission was simple: convince Hyundai's franchise network to embrace their luxury offspring. What he found instead was open rebellion. "Why would I sell a $40,000 Genesis when I can sell three $20,000 Elantras?" demanded Mike Rodriguez, who owned 4 Hyundai dealerships across Orange County. Rodriguez wasn't alone. Internal Hyundai documents obtained through a 2018 lawsuit reveal that 63% of dealers actively discouraged Genesis sales during the brand's first 18 months. The revolution was eating its own children. Hyundai's luxury ambitions began in 2008 when the global financial crisis affected the company. While General Motors and Chrysler filed for bankruptcy, Hyundai's sales actually increased by 8% in the United States. CEO Chung Mong-koo saw opportunity in chaos. BMW's profit margins on the 3 Series exceeded 30%, while Hyundai struggled to make 8% on their entire lineup. The math was intoxicating. Capture just 5% of the luxury market, and Hyundai could double their profitability overnight. The first Genesis sedan launched in 2008 as a Hyundai model, priced at $33,000. Motor Trend named it Car of the Year in 2009. J.D. Power ranked its initial quality higher than the BMW 5 Series. Consumer Reports called it the luxury car bargain of the decade. Sales hit 27,000 units in its debut year. Everything looked perfect on paper, but Hyundai dealers were quietly sabotaging their own success. Service advisors routinely steered customers toward Sonatas instead of Genesis sedans. Sales managers buried Genesis brochures under stacks of accent flyers. The average Genesis spent 47 days on dealer lots, compared to 19 days for a comparable BMW. The problem ran deeper than dealer incentives. Hyundai's franchise agreements, signed decades earlier, gave dealers extraordinary power over inventory decisions. Unlike Tesla's company-owned stores or even Toyota's more collaborative dealer network, Hyundai dealers operated as independent businesses with ironclad territorial rights. They could literally refuse to stock Genesis vehicles, and corporate headquarters had zero recourse. Internal emails from 2013 show Hyundai executives begging dealers to give Genesis floor space. The responses were brutal. "My customers don't want Korean luxury," wrote Tom Patterson, who owned the largest Hyundai dealership in Texas. "They want German luxury or they want Korean reliability. This is neither." By 2014, Genesis sales had collapsed to 11,000 units annually. Hyundai's board was furious. They'd spent $2 billion developing the second-generation Genesis, hired former Mercedes engineers, and even poached Bentley's head of interior design. None of it mattered if dealers wouldn't sell the cars. That's when Chung Mong-koo made the nuclear decision. Genesis would become a standalone brand with its own dealer network. The announcement came on November 4, 2015, at that Beverly Hills celebration. Hyundai would make significant investments to build dedicated Genesis showrooms across America. The war against their own dealers had officially begun. The divorce proceedings were uglier than anyone anticipated, Existing Hyundai dealers demanded the right to sell Genesis vehicles in their current showrooms. Genesis executives, led by Fitzgerald, insisted on separate facilities with dedicated staff and luxury appointments. The compromise satisfied nobody. Dealers who agreed to build Genesis showrooms had to invest between $800,000 and $2 million in construction costs. Those who refused lost access to Genesis inventory entirely. By 2017, only 350 dealers nationwide carried Genesis vehicles, compared to 834 Hyundai dealers. The brand that was supposed to challenge BMW's 947 U.S. dealers was fighting with one hand tied behind its back. Here's where the story gets personal. Sarah Kim worked as a Genesis product specialist at Keys Hyundai in Van Nuys, California. Her job was to convert Hyundai shoppers into Genesis buyers. But the dealership's sales manager, Robert Chen, actively undermined her efforts. He told customers that Genesis parts were expensive and hard to find, Kim revealed in a 2019 deposition. He said the resale value was terrible compared to BMW. He was literally talking people out of buying the car I was paid to sell. Kim's experience wasn't unique. A survey of former Genesis employees conducted by Automotive News in 2020 found that 41% reported internal resistance from Hyundai staff. The sabotage was systematic and devastating. The numbers tell the complete story of this corporate fratricide. Genesis sold just 13,000 vehicles in 2016, their first year as an independent brand. BMW sold 313,000 cars that same year. Lexus moved 298,000 units. Even Infiniti, widely considered a struggling luxury brand, sold 138,000 vehicles. Genesis wasn't just losing to established luxury brands. They were losing to their own dealer network's indifference. Internal Hyundai documents from 2018 show that the average Genesis dealer sold only 37 vehicles per year. The average BMW dealer moved 333 cars annually. The math was humiliating. Mike O'Brien, former vice president of Genesis Motor America, admitted the obvious in a 2019 interview with Automotive News. "We underestimated the dealer resistance. These are business people who've built their livelihoods selling affordable, reliable transportation. Asking them to suddenly become luxury retailers was like asking McDonald's to serve sushi." The cultural disconnect ran deeper than business models. Hyundai dealers prided themselves on volume sales and quick turnovers. Genesis required consultative selling, extended test drives, and white-glove service. The two approaches were fundamentally incompatible, and Genesis paid the price for this miscalculation. Today, Genesis sells approximately 60,000 vehicles annually in the United States. That's respectable growth from their disastrous launch, but it represents a catastrophic return on Hyundai's initial investment. BMW sells more 3 Series sedans in 3 months than Genesis sells in an entire year. The Korean luxury experiment succeeded in creating genuinely excellent vehicles. The G90 sedan rivals anything from Stuttgart or Munich. The GV70 SUV earned Motor Trend's SUV of the Year award in 2022. But excellence means nothing without distribution, and distribution means nothing without dealer commitment. The Genesis debacle proves that building great cars is only half the battle. The other half is building relationships with the people who sell them. Hyundai learned this lesson the hardest way possible, by watching their own dealers choose short-term profits over long-term brand building. Significant investments bought them world-class engineering, stunning design, and industry recognition. It couldn't buy them dealer loyalty. The question isn't whether Genesis will survive. They've found their footing with dedicated showrooms and improved sales training. The question is, what other automotive disruption is being quietly strangled by the very people paid to nurture it?